This segment is brought to you courtesy of Caribbean American Weekly, a newspaper owned and operated by Caribbean Americans. Read the latest edition at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To like us on Facebook, to advertise or to subscribe, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To advertise with the Caribbean American Weekly publication for freelance assignments to distribute at your business place, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. Or to meet a marketing representative at our office, call 718-771-0988. That's 718-771-0988. You are listening to People, Power and Politics, and today we are joined by Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. Mr. Reynoso, who made history as the first Latino elected to this position, is now seeking re-election. During his first term, he's focused on public health, affordable housing, community empowerment, and equity-driven leadership. But as with any leader, he's faced praise and criticism alike. Today, we'll hear directly from him about what he's done, where he's going, and why he believes he deserves a second term. Welcome, sir. Always a pleasure and honor to have you.
Happy to be here, Pro. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's talk about your accomplishments and impact. Let's start with your first term. What do you consider your biggest accomplishment as Borough President, and how has it made a real difference in the lives of Brooklyn residents?
Yeah, so I guess we've done so much. I'm going to try to focus on three things that I think will really show people what we've been able to do here with Borough Hall. The first one is the maternal health work. We have invested $45 million into these three public hospitals in Woodhull Hospital, Kings County, and Coney Island, now known as South Brooklyn Health. And they're going to have state-of-the-art women's centers or the women's units within those offices so we can start closing the gap on the maternal health outcomes that we see for Black women, especially Caribbean women, and even more in depth is Haitian women that die at 12 times the rate as their white counterparts during birth. And those are the things that we're trying to solve for. And look, the construction has just started in Woodhull. It just started in Kings County. So we're hoping by the end of next year, those facilities will be something we could be doing a ribbon cutting on. It's New York City, so things take time. But in the time when we first started this conversation till now, maternal health has actually gotten worse in the state of New York. It has not gotten better. So the statistics are still moving towards a negative direction. I hope that the work we've done made it so that it's not moving as far as it would without it, but we're not going to know the real impacts until we don't see those facilities fully built. But that's an example of me making a commitment during the campaign, Pearl, and actually following through on it, not in a soft way with a couple of $1 million, but the entire budget for maternal health. Then this office, because of the work of Marty Markowitz, God bless Marty Markowitz and all the great work he's done. But Marty Markowitz was in a time where he was building a Brooklyn brand, and that was really important to him. And in that time, I think he was very successful. He did a great job because now we go to anywhere around the world, and if you say Brooklyn, you could probably charge 20% just for saying the word Brooklyn or attaching to it. So he did his part. But we wanted to move away from celebrations, from performative work, and really start talking about work that can affect people's lives in a meaningful way. And one way we did that was we converted the community room that Marty built into a workforce authorization center for migrants. We got almost 6,000 people filling out applications so that these migrants that came here can now start the process of being a part of the community of Brooklyn, being able to contribute, because that's why they came. They came because they wanted to work. Of course, fleeing persecution or fleeing wars or natural disasters, but also they knew that this is the land of opportunity, and if they could just get a job and work, it'll make a huge difference. Those are the types of things we were doing in Borough Hall that is new to Borough Hall, and I'm excited about that, and I want more time to be able to complete more work. And one last thing is the comprehensive plan. A lot of people hear the comprehensive plan. It's a very nerdy thing. I am a big nerd. I love data and information, but what we didn't want to do was allow for squeaky wheels to be where the money went to. Just because you have a relationship with me or just because you know a powerful person doesn't mean that you should be getting resources in your community. The resources should be done based on data. And what we were able to do is do a comprehensive plan and actually look at where the needs are in our borough. And our funding goes almost exclusively data driven. So, of course, East New York, Coney Island, Red Hook, Brownsville are receiving most of our funding specifically because they need the most funding. So that's how we've been working in our office. So again, not completely depoliticizing it, but trying to make it a center of service versus it being a performative political office.
And I just want to, commend you on one of the promises. I remember interviewing you about maternal health. That was one of your signature promises, and you did follow up with that. So I want to commend you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
very welcome. So looking at affordable housing and displacement, we know that housing affordability remains one of the most urgent issues in Brooklyn. What concrete steps have you taken during your term to address housing and displacement, and how will your approach evolve in a second term?
So, bro, this is one of those places where I think I've been a leading voice in this conversation about supply side. And a lot of people don't know what it is. So I want to give it a quick course here. So the first thing is that there's only 2 cities in all of the United States where rents went down. That's Minneapolis and Austin. Those 2 cities saw rent reduction, significant rent reductions. I think it was 20% reduction in rent in Austin. And what did they do? They just built a ton of housing. They built so much housing that landlords were fighting for tenants instead of what happens here in New York where tenants are fighting for apartments. When an affordable housing apartment goes up in the city of New York, one apartment, they get about 80,000 applications per apartment. That's just not a reasonable amount. The supply and demand conversation there is just completely out of whack, and we need to change that. So what we're doing now is having conversations about building south of Eastern Parkway. Right now, north of Eastern Parkway. So when we're talking about Williamsburg, Bushwick, Greenpoint, East New York, those places, Bed-Stuy, they've done their part. They've built a ton of housing. But south of Eastern Parkway is practically no development has happened. There are some neighborhoods like Mill Basin, like Sheepshead Bay, like Bay Ridge that have built less than 100 units of housing since 1968. And we got more people coming in, more people interested in being in our neighborhoods, and we need to build more. And this comes not at the benefit of developers. If anything, the developers don't want to do it. They love charging $3,500 for a 1-bedroom. They don't want more competition, and we're allowing it to happen. So now I'm a part of this movement for supply side housing development, like just build a ton so that there's more competition and we could bring the price down.
Excellent. So public safety and policing, you've supported reducing police involvement in certain areas like mental health crises and traffic enforcement. How has that vision played out during your first term, and what do you say to critics who feel public safety has suffered?
Yeah, so the mayor of the city of New York, Eric Adams, is walking around right now telling everyone that crime is down. The DA, Eric Gonzalez, has said that this is the safest Brooklyn has ever been in its history. Yet, in the city of New York, people don't feel safe. And that feeling of safety really comes from not crime, but visible poverty. There are people that see somebody on a homeless person on the train laying down. That's not affecting them per se, and it's not a crime, but they feel unsafe. They feel uneasy. Somebody that's having a mental health episode in the street, they are not committing a crime, but it makes you feel unsafe. It makes you feel uneasy. And people are seeing a lot more of that around. And it's why people don't feel like crime is actually going down in the city of New York, even though we are the safest big city in all of America. But that comes from, let's say, the time of Cuomo, when he cut the beds in Bellevue. And everybody remembers Bellevue. There were 200 mental health beds in Bellevue. And now there's only 19 beds. We went from 200 to 19. Right? Then we talk about the MTA and the need for congestion pricing, because the money that was taken out of the MTA in all those years One time, Cuomo took money out of the MTA to pay for a ski resort in a hot year that didn't make enough money. So we had to bail them out at the state level. And that money came from the MTA. So we put ourselves in these holes where now we're seeing a deterioration of our public transportation system. We're seeing homeless people on the streets. We're seeing people with mental health having mental health episodes on the streets. And everybody sees that all accumulating. They see a decrease in quality of life and associate that with a city that's not safe. But it is not, but it is safe. And another thing is, what I like to do is talk about the characteristics of safety. If cops were the number one characteristics of safety, then they would be in Brooklyn Heights, they would be in Park Slope, they would be in all these neighborhoods that are extremely safe in the city of New York. And they're not. I'm working here in downtown Brooklyn, and if you walk through Brooklyn Heights and you see a cop, you call me, because I've never seen a cop in Brooklyn Heights. Because safety doesn't come from policing. What safety is: high quality housing, good transportation, good parks, good jobs, good healthcare, good schools. Those are what makes the difference. So what I want to do is give these other neighborhoods that are struggling, not more cops, but those other resources that these neighborhoods have that are characteristics of safety. Why can't schools in Brownsville be the best schools in all of Brooklyn? Why can't we have a healthcare system that challenges or matches the private healthcare system in the city of New York? Why do we have parks in Bed-Stuy that are all blacktop? So we're only playing handball and basketball, but there's no grass in there, but there's a ton of grass everywhere else. So like what we need to do is increase the characteristics of safety in these neighborhoods. And cops are important, but they are not the solution to safety in our streets.
This is the first time I've heard an elected official speak about that. Should you be running for mayor, sir?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm an unusual candidate. People are shocked that a skinny brown boy from North Brooklyn in Williamsburg could possibly be borough president. They were shocked, and it's happened because I don't succumb to the traditional ways. And I'll tell you this, Pearl, that what we have is people that are not happy with the progress of the city of New York continuing to vote and do things that are traditional. They're going to vote for the same people.
Definition of insanity.
Exactly.
Doing the same thing over
So
and over
you're not
again
happy,
and
but you keep
expecting
voting for the
different
same people.
results.
Yeah, exactly. You want different results with the same people, the same leaders, and
Right.
the same. And
Right.
now somebody comes to you and says, hey, maybe the reason why you are not safe isn't because there's not enough cops in your neighborhood, but maybe you need other things. And they don't. Elected officials of the past and these traditional elected officials like to feed you the same food and tell you that you're losing your mind. And it's not. It's bland. We're over it, and it's about time that we change the tune. And that's who I am, and I'm okay. I expend a lot of political capital. I'd rather lose than vote against my conscience and not be honest and sincere with the Brooklyn people.
All right. And talking about the Brooklyn people, Brooklyn is one of the most diverse places in the world. But some communities have expressed concern about a lack of engagement from your office. And you mentioned your change with your community room.
Yeah.
So how do you respond to that? And what are you doing to build stronger, more inclusive relationships?
Yeah, look, this borough is big and it is diverse. So I don't want anybody to knock it before you try it. Try to move through this borough and all these neighborhoods. It's going to take time. I've been here for 3 years, and the first year that I've been in office, the first year Eric Adams had taken about 50 staff members to City Hall, which, by the way, if I were ever to get elected for a citywide seat and I could take my team with me, I would do it too. So it's not a criticism of him at all. But I was left with 19 staff members and had to hire 50 new staff members. And also there's when it happened between Marty Markowitz and Eric Adams, that transition, most of the staff was still there from Marty's time. So there's like institutional knowledge. There's relationships that are built that I'm literally have young people in my office building new relationships with all of Brooklyn. We'll get there to make sure that people do feel like I'm in every part of the neighborhood and every community and meeting people. I will be there, but it's all based on work. I don't show up to places and it's not work. This performative stuff is something I just contest because it's not who I am and it's not how I got here. So when you see me, you're going to see me not because I'm throwing you a party, but because I'm giving you something that is meaningful. And I think for a long time, our people have been given, I think, like breadcrumbs and told to enjoy it. And because, a big party was thrown for us, we're going to support a candidate, but people are still hungry. People still don't have housing. Our parks still suck. Our crime is still high. All these things are still happening. I'm not going to use magic and smoke and mirrors to tell you that I'm the best borough president because I threw you this party versus, you know what, you're going to love me when I'm done because of the actual meaningful things I did to change your life around and make your life better. So I want to say to anybody that's saying that, one, I disagree that I'm not everywhere. I am everywhere. It's just a big borough. But the engagement is going to get better as time goes on, as we learn about where to be, new relationships, new people. So it's time.
And that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at your long-term vision for Brooklyn, how do you see Brooklyn evolving in the next 4 years? And how will you ensure that growth is equitable, sustainable, and inclusive of all communities and not just those with the loudest voices?
Yeah. So first, the comprehensive plan is how I do my job.
Mm-hmm.
So the data is there, and you could look through all my funding, which is all publicly available on the city's website and on our website. Go to all our funding, and you will see that most of the money is going to the places you would expect it, or you would hope it goes to, which is mostly poor communities. I'm not spending my time in Park Slope. I'm not spending all my time in Brooklyn Heights. I'm not spending all my time in Williamsburg. I'm in these neighborhoods and I'm supporting these neighborhoods in meaningful ways that are struggling. So that's the first thing. I think what's going to change in Brooklyn is that we're going to continue to be the progressive capital of New York City. And I know for a lot of people that might be uncomfortable, but they shouldn't. They should. I believe they should embrace it, because all it's saying is that you should have affordable bus service that is fast and moves. You should have housing that is dignified and affordable. Freezing the rent. People hear freezing the rent, bro, and they get nervous. I don't know why. All these people, there's half of the people in the city of New York live in a rent stabilized apartment. And when we tell them that we need to freeze the rent, they get excited about it. But who hasn't frozen the rent? The current mayor hasn't done it, not one time. And if anything, he increased the rent so much, bro. Like the board increased it so much that they had to come back and take another vote because their increase was so exorbitant that it was unjustified through the data, through all of this. So forget about it. They didn't even listen to tenants that said, hey, it's too high. Then they had data that said that what they were proposing was too high, and they still did it. They're in the pockets of developers, and they care about developers, and that's what they did, versus using the data to make decisions. So I just think that the future of Brooklyn is going to introduce a lot of these issues and these things to people, and their lives are going to improve because of it. Once the transit gets better, the parks are improved, the real safety is happening, people are going to see what the real life is like. We're not going to live in this perpetual state of nonsense and of not being able to have high quality of life. And that's what I expect. I expect Brooklyn to thrive.
Okay, so what would be your top 3 priorities in your second term?
So the second term, mental health is going to be a big part of what we're doing. That one's a little more difficult, but we are working with not-for-profits right now to see if we can have like what we call housing first approach. If you have mental health issues, the number one stabilizing factor for somebody with mental health is secured housing. If they're not worried about where they're going to sleep at night. If they are worried about it, it destabilizes them. They don't take their medication. They don't go to therapy. They don't get support. They abandon their families. Things happen. It destabilizes them.
It's a domino effect.
It does. But housing is the first one. If we start with housing, then we're able to have conversations with them to make sure that their health is good, their mental health is stable and it's good. And these supportive housing units have on the first floor, for example, all the resources that people need to make sure that they're okay. So they live from the second floor all the way up to like the 10th floor, but the first floor is support services for those folks. So we're working with not-for-profits to see if we could create as much of that as possible. And then another thing is education. We're going to be working with D75 students, which are mostly kids on the spectrum with autism or kids that are considered neurodivergent. We have a ton of those schools in Brooklyn, and we want to make sure that Brooklyn physically, right, the infrastructure of these schools, that we have the best schools for these kids that are most vulnerable, kids that are sometimes don't speak or have trouble engaging in the world in a meaningful way. Like, we can really change their lives by providing them the best schools, physical schools, to be able to learn, grow, and build some independence and have the best lives they could possibly have. And that one is a personal one because my son has autism, and I want to make sure that Brooklyn can take care of him long after I'm no longer the borough president.
How old is your son?
He's 4 years old. My older son is 8, and my youngest son is 4. Yeah.
So let's talk about the case for re-election.
Mm.
What's the one thing people misunderstand about the borough president's job?
They think that the borough president is only a cheerleader. They think that my job is to throw parties, and it is not. In Brooklyn, that is the reputation that we've built. But in other places, like in Manhattan, for example, the borough president was like the leader during COVID in making sure he was updating people on exactly what the process was, like what's happening, what's not happening, what to worry about, what not to worry about, like just really information style setting. In Queens, he's a leader. Donovan Richards is a leader on economic development and really making sure that whether it's a City Field, a new soccer stadium, JFK and LaGuardia, all those things are providing jobs to the people that need it the most. That's what's happening in a lot of these boroughs. And in ours, we're mostly just there doing very performative work, and we want to move past that. And I think that the biggest misunderstanding is that people, because this is what they got, now that's not happening, and they assume that that's because the work is not being done. And instead is no, because work is being done, we're doing a lot less event planning and a lot more service to our community. So it's okay. I think in time people will get it, but I want to make it so that this office moving forward is an office that after I'm gone is one where service is always at the center of the work we're doing. Again, not just celebrations.
Okay.
And I just want to say celebrations have their place.
Yes.
We do have to recognize the beautiful cultures and the people. And I think Marty did that very well. But the systems that exist now to make that stuff happen are just not there.
And also, with all the things that are happening right now, it's a different priority.
Yeah. Well, you know where it came from? And just I know we don't have a lot of time left, but it came from, I was having a Hispanic Heritage Month. And we were drinking, we were eating, we were dancing while, single women and their children are in a cot underneath a tent in the
Floyd Bennett
in
Field,
Floyd Bennett Field, eating 3 meals a day, and most of them Latino. And I'm having Hispanic Heritage Month here celebrating. It was sad. It was a sad moment for me. And I said, no, not again. Until we don't get rid of those tents, until we don't start supporting Brooklynites, until people are not sick anymore, we got to be careful about the parties we're throwing. We got to slow that down. And we did slow it down. And now, I think times have been better on that front. So maybe we do a couple of things to celebrate and recognize the greatness of Brooklyn and things like that. But always at the center will be service first.
So at the end of the day, voters want a clear reason to support you again. Why should you be re-elected as Brooklyn president? What makes you the best person to lead this borough for another 4 years?
Well, I want them to re-elect me because I'm not your traditional BS elected official. That what they're going to get from me is honesty and sincerity. They're going to get somebody that works extremely hard and that is dedicated to them. What they won't get is sameness. They won't have to worry that they can't tell me ever, oh, all elected officials are the same. I'm not. And what they will get is a unique elected official that fights the power. I fought against Trump. I fight against allies too. Whether it's Biden not giving enough money for immigration to us, I was front and center on that fight. Whether it's fighting against Trump and all the nonsense that we're seeing now, I fight that. Whether it's against Eric Adams when I think he's doing something wrong. Whether it's the future, the governor of the past and the governor of and the mayor of the future, I'll fight them too. I'm always going to be fighting for Brooklyn, and I'm not scared of expending political capital to do it. I'm not here to keep this job for 50 years. I'm here to do what's right for the people of Brooklyn. And you could always trust that I'm going to put them first, not elected officials or my political standing or position.
I'm happy to hear you speak like that. I remember when I interviewed you when you were first running, and I'm happy to hear that same Antonio Reynoso.
I'm never going to conform to something that is not in my heart. And being traditional in this establishment world is not who I am. And I feel like I got here because of that. And I'm not going to change it now.
Okay. So how can one support your campaign to make this a reality? Donate, volunteer? What do you need?
No, look, I want to be perfectly honest. We're a very fortunate campaign and we're doing very well. We've done great on our fundraising. We've got mailers already out, a commercial that started on Tuesday. So the people are going to be seeing that. We got more TV coming throughout the week, more mailers, a bunch of digital stuff. So we're just very fortunate. What I would ask people to do is not forget to vote. That's the most important thing. And I hope it's for me, but even if it's not, just come out and vote, because we want to show the power of Brooklyn, and the higher the turnout, the more influence I have to be able to affect change in all of this city. So just vote. There's early voting starts June 14th, and the voting day is June 24th. So just please come out and vote.
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Reynoso. Everyone, that was Antonio Reynoso, current Brooklyn Borough President and candidate for re-election. Whether you agree with his policies or not, one thing is clear: the decisions made at the borough level impacts Brooklynites every day. As always, we encourage our listeners to stay informed, ask questions, and most importantly, vote as the borough president said. And you can learn more about his platform at reynosoforbrooklyn.com. Thanks again for joining us, Mr. Reynoso. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Always happy to come on. Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. This segment was brought to you courtesy of Caribbean American Weekly, a newspaper owned and operated by Caribbean Americans. Read the latest edition at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To like us on Facebook, to advertise, or to subscribe, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. To advertise with the Caribbean American Weekly publication for freelance assignments to distribute at your business place, visit us at www.cawnyc.com. That's www.cawnyc.com. Or to meet a marketing representative at our office, call 718-771-0988. That's 718-771-0988.